Hello and welcome to the Get Stuck In podcast. We are back with episode 8. We're joined by Jafar, who's a Liverpool fan. We have another Liverpool fan, but hard to come by anyone else at the moment. We're going to talk about the Premier League results this weekend, and then obviously we're going to be asking him the fan questions to hear his footballing story as a Liverpool fan. So, Max, should we just jump straight into the Premier League chat?
Yeah, so the big talking point of this weekend, unfortunately, once again, was the referee. And Brighton and Lewis Dunk got massively robbed. I think that's fair to say, by a shocking sort of calamity on the referee's part, which was Lee Mason blowing the whistle to take the free kick, and then blowing the whistle again, even after before Dunk had put the ball in the back of the net, therefore disallowing the goal, which was at no fault of Brighton or Dunk's. Yeah, massive calamity. It's probably the worst, and tell you what made it worse was the fact that it got referred to VAR. So it's shifted the blame slightly again onto VAR. Really piled on, and I'm not a fan of it. But yeah, I don't know how you guys thought of it. But
I mean, my thing with this was obviously you've had quick free kicks down the years. I think Henry did it a couple of times. I mean, Dunk, this is his second one, isn't it? He did it again. He did it against you guys, didn't he?
He scored against Liverpool.
Yeah, and I just think it's not on the ref for the defense. His job is to referee the game. His job is not to help the defense get set up. As soon as he's blown the whistle, he did blow the whistle again, but like obviously very late. It was basically the ball crossed the line. But he went like, "Oh no, they're not set up. I'll blow it again." That's not his job. If he blew the whistle, the goalkeeper was still on the halfway line. That's on the goalkeeper. That's up to them. And it's like there's this unspoken thing where like because the free kick taker normally takes a little bit of time to set up, they kind of naturally just let the goalkeeper get ready. And it's just clever play. It's no different to Trent against Barcelona, not to keep bringing it back to you, but like it's just baffling how they can't allow it. How like he blew the whistle, that's it. He can't blow the whistle again. Even if he wanted to, it doesn't matter. And like you say, the fact didn't it he corrected it. Well, he gave it. Was that under the advice of VAR? Or was that him changing his mind? Then VAR came in.
I'm not sure.
I think he disallowed it at first.
Yeah.
Then he allowed it. Then it went to VAR.
Oh, mate,
so it was like it changed like 3 times.
I just love watching the players. Like the Brighton players going up to him, and then they suddenly went like, "Yeah, get in, let's go." They walk back, and then it's the West Brom players, and then it's the Brighton players going mad. I'm running out of words with VAR. I feel like every time, like every weekend, I basically like call or message my dad about the weekend, and we're just like, "How did that happen? How
See,
is
that's
this
not
VAR
on
happen?"
VAR though.
Well, yeah, but unless you got rid of every single referee and trained all these new ones.
No. That's what.
I agree. The technology in theory is great, but there's just not the standards of refereeing to put it in place. I don't think.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree that VAR is trash, but I don't.
It shouldn't be that hard with VAR because everyone else can see what should have happened, and we're not trained referees. It shouldn't be that hard to do it with VAR. Obviously, on field, it's harder to make it in real time. I don't blame referees all the time for that. But if you have technology, you have replays, you shouldn't be making the mistakes.
Well, I mean, they use it in like so many sports, don't they? And so much less sort of controversy around it. So it is bizarre. I think a lot of pundits have mentioned it where they've sort of said about having someone who plays the game involved in refereeing decisions or rules, like a former player, because they do just get it. They're just used to it, and I just think one thing that really frustrates me is whenever VAR gets it wrong. There's a few times where they've come out or referees get it wrong. There's a few times where someone comes out from whoever and says, "Yeah, this was a mistake." But the amount of times you get these TV referees who just find any way in the world to explain the decision. Half the time, when they go to him during the game, he says, "Yeah, it's not a penalty, say." Then they give it as a penalty. And then he said, "Well, yeah, if you look at this law, it is a penalty." And you're just like, come on, like, it's just common sense.
Searching through the handbook to find a
literally.
Yeah, there's no accountability.
Yeah.
I've thought about this. I mean, referees, I feel like they have accountability because it's true. Everyone has a go at them. It's a tough position.
Yeah.
Let's not lie about it. But at the same time, what actual accountability do they have? Because nothing seems to really change. The referees stay virtually the same. No matter how obviously, I'm sure they get taken off certain games if they've made a poor decision. I don't doubt that.
Yeah, I think sometimes they get like put down into the
Yeah,
championship or whatever. But at the same time, why are you then? But you got, oh, you've been poor. Let's punish the championship by giving them this, in this situation, poor referee. Like it just doesn't make sense. I don't see why there can't be. Obviously, you can't have it. Like there are still going to be mistakes and there's still going to be controversial decisions. But like the level of some of them, there has to be some system put in place to have repercussions because some of them are so defining. Like I know this wasn't referees or VAR specifically. Well, I mean, I think VAR should have just overridden goal line technology on that Sheffield United Villa goal because that has so many implications financially, whatever. Like everything
Bournemouth
is
could
made
be
so
up
much.
right now.
Yeah,
Bournemouth could be in
exactly,
front and
exactly.
Villa could be.
And if Sheffield United win that game, they could. That was the first game back. They could have still gone on a run and got
Yeah,
European football.
Yeah, they were in prime position to get.
They were in fifth place, I think, when the restart happened, something like that.
yeah,
I think they were ahead of Man U at the time, or
Yeah.
or really close. They could have
yeah.
even pushed for Champions League if they had some luck.
But with that, it's not like sometimes you get these things and then like there's so many things going on in a clip and you people kind of miss things like you kind of miss there was a trip here or something but everyone in the world including VAR knew that was over the line but they just said oh we can't overrule it's like one thing I hate is when there's a tackle and it's like oh that could be a red they say it's not a red and it is debatable but they're not allowed to yellow card them like I think Bruno Fernandes did one against Arsenal where he kind of raked his studs down a player's I think Xhaka's leg it's like yeah it's not a red it probably is that kind of orange card everyone talks about. But it's like he doesn't even get booked. He just walks away like that rule just doesn't make sense. Surely not that every time you check a red it has to then be a yellow, but when it is a yellow, give a yellow. I just it's
To that point, it's just with the yellow cards, you can't send someone off for a second yellow then. So that
yeah
removes half of the equation for sending someone off. You can send someone
yeah
off for straight red, but you can't do it for a second yellow when you refer to VAR.
yeah.
So it
Like
has to be.
I kind of
It's the
assume
same
the
with
reason is yeah, Karen.
it's the same with diving. Like if a penalty gets overturned and it was a clear dive, they don't book the player.
Yeah,
So like, what's
definitely.
stopping them from doing it again?
I feel like the reasoning is, and I don't know, this is just my guess, in terms of the Reds being converted, is that if you like start giving them, people are going to want you to look at every single tackle to see if it's a yellow. But I don't think that's the point. I think the point is if you're already checking it for the red, you can give a yellow. It's not like you're going to go to every single foul that happens and go, let's check. I mean, I say that they do. I'm pretty sure they do check everything that happens. We just obviously don't hear about it, but the potential, like you said, Max, the potential is clearly better than no VAR, but at this point, I think everyone prefers it without VAR. It just keeps it simple. But if we kind of will keep on this VAR track as well as move on to a new game, we had the Man United Chelsea game a complete dud in terms of entertainment being 0-0. I mean, it's we're going to talk about Man United's games against the top
both
six
games this
later.
season. Both games have been 0-0 this season.
Yeah, there's something about them this year with top six. But if we quickly just stick on VAR, the Hudson-Odoi handball. I don't know if you saw that one far, but how do you feel about that? What
Yeah,
did
I've
you see
seen
it
it.
as?
I mean, I think it's a penalty. It should be a penalty,
Yeah.
but I don't feel any sympathy. As a Liverpool fan, I don't feel any sympathy for them because it's not just that it's Man U. It was Man U against Chelsea earlier on in the season when Chelsea should have had a penalty
Yeah.
and weren't given it. So it does balance out this time. It's still wrong, but I don't think people can complain too much if they weren't at that time.
Is that the Maguire challenge on
Azpilicueta, yeah.
Yeah. I think sorry, you go.
Yeah, it should have been a penalty, really.
I think with the penalty, the handball law is so disingenuous now. It under compared to what I have seen given handball, yes, it's 100%. Like, it's the most blatant penalty if we're talking, for example, when I know it's not the same competition, but in the Champions League last year when Memphis Depay got called for a handball against Juve when he was just jumping in the wall and he had his hand by his side on his body. I mean, compared to that, it's a blatant handball.
Yeah.
But handball is hand to ball.
Yeah.
I don't know if I mean you could argue that he has done it, so that makes it even more blatant. But the handball rule is just like it can just touch your hand. Like handball is supposed to mean hand to ball, not ball to hand, and it is completely disappeared.
Yeah.
If a player,
And also, I think with that,
yeah, I just think if a player, handball should be if a player intentionally moves their hand towards the ball in an effort to play the ball. Luis Suarez against Ghana is a handball.
yeah,
Like that is a handball.
Yeah.
Certain goals, yeah. I mean, Fernandinho against Chelsea in last year, that was handball.
Yeah.
Clear act to move your hand to stop an action happening. I just think that it's completely lost the plot. I think it's the most of all the sort of contentious rules. It's the one that's drifted the furthest of any. I think in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
I think no Man U player appealing for it. It kind of showed that like it wasn't enough of a handball. Based on a few years ago, that would never be a penalty. Like no one appealed for it. No one thought it was a penalty. And Man U, like they would appeal for it if they thought it was a penalty. It's only on the replays where you see like a tiny touch.
Yeah.
Where a few years ago it's never a penalty, but based on this season it should have been.
Yeah. If we stick with this game, then we mentioned Man United. It's another 0-0. I'm pretty sure, is it every single game they played against the top six is 0-0 apart from the 6-1 and the 1-0 against Arsenal. And I think it's like 5 points, from 21. I think it was. I think BT Sports tweeted out. It's bizarre because with Man United, obviously overall, I think everyone would agree they've improved from last season, especially with the addition of Bruno Fernandes. But when these years since Fergie, when they haven't been quite as good, they've always been pretty good in the big games, especially Man City. Especially, to be fair, actually looking back for like Liverpool, they didn't really have much against them. But I mean, Arsenal, I felt they always generally had the better of us, maybe until the last couple of years. But from memory, they did well. Like I said, especially against Man City. Why do you think this season they've dropped below that level in these big games? To either of you,
I think the main thing is I actually saw a tweet from Mark Goldbridge last night, and we're referring to that tweet because I thought it was right because he was talking about it and saying basically that last season and the season before, teams would get caught on the counter. They left spaces on the wing behind the fullbacks because they pushed their fullbacks up. This season, teams they've learned from it. Big teams, they're just covering a lot more down those wide spaces and those wide areas. Not allowing Rashford, not allowing Martial if he's playing on the left, not allowing Greenwood if he's playing on the right to make any headway down the left or right channels. It works because it's basically like Mark Goldbridge said, it's telling teams and it's telling United, you've got to come and play. You've got to come and actually beat us when it's 11v11, but in your own half. So I think that's basically. I think basically teams have learned from it, learned from how Man United are playing. So I don't think and it's the same. I mean, you don't change it, but United have been playing the same way for the last couple of years. It's the same with all teams. And I think we've seen that with Klopp's team a bit as well. People have learned how to play against Klopp this year a little bit.
Yeah, I mean that's highlighted, isn't it? Why wasn't it first day of last season? I think Man United beat Chelsea 4-0. And it's such a weird game because Chelsea played sort of fine, but it's just that lethal Man United counter-attack. Jafar, obviously a lot is talked about Bruno this year. You know, is he going to be player of the year? Is he one of the best players in Europe? I guess would be the question now. But there is this thing going around now. As you get with quite a few players, they get this tag that they can't do it in the big games. Do you think that is true of him? I'm not sure his actual stats, but I know they're not. His output isn't impressive in these games.
I think based on watching them, it's fair to say because I saw like there was a couple of moments where he could have played. I think it was Rashford, in, and one of them he overhit really badly when Rashford would have been 1-on-1, and one of them he underhit. And he doesn't play as well in the big games. Maybe that's because of the way Man U set up. They have less of the ball. He has less time to do it. Because he does give the ball away when even against the smaller teams, but he has more of it. So he has more chances to then fix it later on and create a chance. But against the bigger teams, he doesn't have that because of the way they play.
Yeah.
And I don't think he scored an open play goal against them either.
Yeah.
There was the penalty against Tottenham, but aside from that, I don't think he has.
I feel like just in his general play, you kind of mentioned it. People have kind of accepted this with strikers. You get strikers kind of like, I guess you put Aubameyang in that bracket where they are high chance strikers. Like they're not necessarily the most clinical, but their movement is so good. I think Cavani's in this bracket as well. They get so many chances to score. They're gonna miss two but score two, and then obviously you get the strikers who will get one and score one. And I feel like you get these with playmakers. I feel like Bruno Fernandes, he's not the tidiest player. He gives the ball away. I think Sanchez was maybe in this bracket. He gave the ball away so many times when he played for Arsenal, Man United, but he'd also do the killer thing. And it's just, Bruno has that. And I think you're right. I think you're playing better opposition on paper, better opposition. You're going to get less chances. And in a game against a smaller team, he just gets probably about 6 chances per game to have a shot, play a through ball, whatever. And I think, he's definitely, I wouldn't say he was as efficient maybe as like a prime Ozil maybe. Is it like maybe he'd only have 2 chances to play the right through ball, but he'd do it once. Whereas maybe Bruno needs a couple more, but he does it so many times in a game. But I feel like I definitely stand there with him that he's just effective, but I wouldn't say he's efficient. Where do you stand on it, Max?
I was going to slightly disagree with Jafar, but he's kind of convinced me. I'm not going to lie. I think it is concerning from a Man United fan's perspective in that he hasn't really contributed anything apart from that one penalty against Tottenham against the top 6. I mean, stats do lie, but that is quite a significant drop-off compared to his stats against other teams in the Prem. And part of it, I think, is because of the counter-attack style they play. I think Big Six teams are just better at setting up against United than any others in the Prem. That goes without saying. And I think that he's just not getting enough. He's not getting as much time and space on the ball. It affects every playmaker. You've got less time and space. You've got less time to think and play the right pass. And I don't think he's playing. I know in some games he has disappeared a bit, but it does happen. Every player has disappeared in a big game. Let's be honest about it. Apart from maybe like Drogba, but I'd say it's concerning, but I don't think it's the end of the world. The guy's incredible, to be honest, and he is one of the best players in Europe at the moment, I think. And I think he will prove the fact that I think he's going to play well against big teams. I don't see that issue. I think he's going to be fine. I don't see he hasn't played atrociously. Against big teams. He's just not quite as involved as he usually is. I think we're used to seeing him being in the centre of everything when Man United are doing anything because he is the best player by a mile on that team. And then when there's any sort of like drop off, you see that United. I mean, we saw before he came in, United were so much worse. And now he's here. We've got so used to him dictating everything that when he's slightly off the pace, you see a massive gaping hole. Like, where is he? What's he doing? I mean, if he was in a team with a few more players that could do a bit more, another playmaker maybe, then maybe he wouldn't have such a heavy load and he'd be able to. You'd see him a lot more.
Do you think? I don't know if you saw. There's a story. I can't remember who put it out that. I don't read much into it, but apparently he's getting frustrated with his teammates basically for not being as good as him. And you do see that on the pitch, but he's definitely not the first player to ever do that. There's so many players that are like that. But do you think? There's a lot of conversation about Kane and should he have left? Should he still leave? Like, when is he going to kind of make that jump to go to a team arguably more likely to get trophies? Do you think Bruno is... Do you think he is all about trophies? Like, obviously he's all about winning. You can tell from his attitude, but is he all about trophies wherever it comes? Or do you think he is all about Man U and he's happy to stay at Man U and try and drive them something, or do you think say they don't do anything for 2 years, they just kind of get top four maybe one year, then get Europa League the next year? Do you think he would look at it and think, I've got to move on, I've got to go somewhere else to win things, or do you think he's in it for Man U?
I think he'd move on. I think there's only a certain amount of loyalty you can have to a club, and I'm not saying he's a disloyal player, but I mean, to be honest, I think he'll be there next year, but I think the summer after this one will be the interesting one. If United don't win anything this year, and then next year they maybe, like, say they don't win the big prizes next year.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. How old would he be next summer? 27?
Yeah, 27, 28.
Prime of your career.
He's
Yeah.
26 right now.
Yeah, if you're not winning stuff like that, you do not. No offense to Harry Kane, but you do not want to end up in his position. The guy is 29, 30, one of the best players in the world, and he hasn't won anything.
Yeah.
That just cannot happen.
I think for Fernandes, it also depends on who the manager is.
Yeah.
Because if Man U don't win anything this season or next season, and they keep Solskjaer, I think then he'll be a bit like he needs to move to win something. But if they then get a new manager, get someone better in, someone who might win a trophy, then I think then he would stay. But otherwise, Real Madrid would go for him, Barcelona, anyone would like him.
Yeah.
Depends on what the teams can afford him.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No one has any money at the moment.
Yeah, so just quickly as well, we obviously did a lot of talk about VAR. I don't know how much you guys saw the Arsenal Leicester game, but credit to VAR. I don't know if you saw these two decisions. There was two decisions which I think they got spot on. We had a penalty given and then it was taken away, and then we had the penalty that was given for a handball. And I think credit to them because they did actually get those both right. And I think it's fair that we do give them credit for those. But the game itself, I think it was a really good performance from us. I was really shocked by with the team we put out. But focusing more on Leicester, do you think this is the beginning of the collapse we saw last year? Obviously, they've been hit so badly by injuries. I think Maddison's out right now. Barnes was injured yesterday. Justin's injured. Fafana didn't play yesterday. Jafar, do you think the same? Do you think this is history repeating itself? They went out the Europa League this week as well.
It depends how long Maddison is out for. I don't actually know how long he is. If that's only a couple of weeks, I think they can survive and get top four. Because I think West Ham will probably drop off at some point, and Liverpool's form isn't exactly great. Tuchel's only just started. We don't actually know how that's going to go. But if Maddison is out for a while, and with Barnes out as well, then I don't think they'll get top four.
Yeah.
I think I'm just looking at their fixtures. They've got a nice run of fixtures over the next 3 games. They've got Burnley, Brighton, and Sheffield. If they win all 3, I think they're in pole position.
Yeah.
And they probably should win all 3, but I think there's a potential for a slip up against Burnley and Brighton. I see them beating Sheffield, but the other 2, I think there is a potential. So.
Yeah, no, I think Barnes, for me, I was messaging my friends during the game, and I literally said, I think we were talking about, are they dropping off? And then as soon as Barnes got injured, like mid-convo, I was like, I think that could be the nail in the coffin of their top 4 hopes, because he's been so effective this year. Add Maddison. I mean, we talked about that before. Credit to them, because there's a lot of talk about Liverpool's injuries and all these teams' injuries. Leicester have been hit so hard. And I do think for sure if they had everyone fit, top 4 would be a certain this year. So I do feel for Leicester, but like you say, hopefully Maddison can get playing, especially with the Euros coming up. We've had this discussion already about whether he should be going, but you definitely at least want to have the option of him. So if we touch on the last thing we're going to touch on from the Premier League, we've talked a lot about the top 4, so we're going to talk about probably the last team in contention. We mentioned West Ham already. Everton picked up a 1-0 win last night against Southampton. I think you said you didn't see the goal, but it was a really nice. Sigurdsson played a really nice free ball for Richarlison. I think he took one touch on his left and then just played it straight through the defence, and Richarlison rounded the keeper. They obviously started brilliantly, dipped a little bit, and then that win a few weeks ago, whenever it was against Liverpool, really sort of has kicked them back into life again. Do you think, where would you put them if you sort of said Leicester, Liverpool, West Ham, Everton? I think that's everyone for the top 4. Oh, Chelsea as well. Where would you rank Everton in those 5 in terms of chances of getting that fourth spot?
I think because of Leicester's injuries, I think they'll end up 5th or 6th, depending on how hard Leicester get hit. I think they'll finish above West Ham, but I think Chelsea and Liverpool will finish above them.
Okay.
Because I think like we saw Calvert-Lewin got injured, I think, for a bit, and they didn't win in like 3 games. If that happens again, then they're going to drop off fast.
Yeah.
Richarlison is on and off, I feel. He's done well recently, but before that he was a bit not great. So I feel like Liverpool and Chelsea just have more to finish above them.
Yeah. The next 2 game days for Chelsea, I think, will be the defining 2 of their season. They've got Liverpool and Everton the next 2 games.
Okay.
I think if they pick up 4 points from them, I think they're in pole position. Especially if they pit them up against Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it'll be interesting with Chelsea obviously taking a good first win in the Champions League. If they do manage to get past Atletico, they're going to have that to think about as well. So I think that could be something that help Everton, but at the same time, I do think it's highly possible that Atletico turn that around. So I think the top 4 is going to be an interesting one. If we're going to head on to the questions after this, but I just remembered we may as well we can bring this forward because we'll end with the questions. I don't think we mentioned this to you before, Shafar. We're going to do. We're just going to talk about the game tonight. It's Man City Wolves, and we're just literally going to give a prediction each, and then we'll put out a poll on Twitter, and you guys can vote on whose prediction you think is best. And maybe we can try and keep tally of who's been more accurate as the season goes on. So is it Man City at home?
I think so.
I think the result is going to be the same for a lot of people.
Yeah, Man City at home.
So I'm guessing we're going to go for a Man City win. Is that fair?
Well done. Yeah, guessed it.
Yeah. So what are you saying for an actual score prediction, Max? I'll go to you first.
2-0.
Well, you don't think they're going to go all in? Well, because it's quite an easy week this week. Well, potentially, who knows? We'll add in first goal scorer. Who are you saying? 2-0 first goal scorer?
Sterling.
Fair. I mean, if he does what he does against Arsenal, we'll be scoring within a minute. So it's a good shout. What you said, Jafar?
I'm gonna go with 3-0.
That's a shout.
And first goal scorer, I think. I would have said Aguero, but I don't think he's going to start. So I'll go with De Bruyne.
My prediction was literally 3-0, and I wanted to say Aguero, but I didn't know if he'd start. I'm gonna back them. I think they're gonna go 4-0. Just literally get the count in there. We'll go 4-0. I'll back him. I'll back Gundo. You know, he's player of the year if he keeps it up.
What about Gundogan?
The only thing I'd worry about him is that I feel like the system's slightly changed now that De Bruyne is back. Like, he's the main man again. But I'll back Gundo. I love him. Great player. Loved him at Dortmund, and he's done well this year. So
I feel like we can also, because we're not going to be back until next week, we should predict the Thursday game. Liverpool-Chelsea. That's the biggest game of the week.
I didn't even know that was on this week.
That's on Thursday.
Insane. I'm definitely watching that, man.
Yeah, Liverpool at home. I'm going to have to make a prediction off the spot, to be honest. So, Sam, you can go first with that one.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll just take it lads first. Don't worry. Liverpool-Chelsea. I'm going to go.
It's the Manchester derby at the weekend as well.
We'll talk about that next week. I'm going to go. I think it's going to be a draw. I think it's going to be quite dead. I'm going to go 1-1. And I think Giroud's going to score first. And then Liverpool are going to fight back in the second half, get one, look like they're going to win, but not manage it. It's going to be very similar to Chelsea Atletico. That's what I'm saying.
Do you want me to go, or do you want to go?
No, you can go first, yeah.
Cheers. I want to go with the exact same thing that you've got with. I can't do that now. I'm going to say 1-1 as well. I'm just going to have to go for a different goal scorer. I can't say the same thing.
Make Kai Havertz to find his form at Anfield. He probably wouldn't start.
Werner scored.
Yeah, that'll be a story. And a
I'm
half.
gonna say Liverpool score. Oh God, I don't know. I can't remember who plays for Chelsea half the time.
Yeah, that team changes so much.
God, it's gonna be Giroud, isn't it? He's gonna score.
Mate, say the same thing. Great minds think
Yeah,
alike.
1-1 and Giroud scored
What
first.
Jafar said.
I'm gonna say 3-1 Liverpool.
Wow.
I'm backing us because if Fabinho, Keita, Jota, and Alisson are back,
Is there a
I
chance
think
of that? Is there a chance
Keita's
of that happening?
back. Keita played against who did we play the weekend again? Sheffield, yeah. And he looks good. I think
Yeah.
Salah will score first, and I'm backing Keita, man of the match.
Think he's gonna start.
Yeah, I think he should. I think he has to.
Mate,
So
Jafar loves Keita.
I do like Keita, but I've got the Klopp's press conference report from today.
Yeah.
Fabinho and Alisson are available for Thursday, what he expects them to be. And
Wow.
Jota, he said, I quote, I think he'll be available, but I don't know. So
Mate, Jota
I mean,
being back would be massive.
if Jota's back, then I'd back us to win.
Jota has to start if he's back.
Well, I was gonna say when everyone's fit.
I don't think he will though.
What would your front three be? Would it still be the main trio?
Mane, Jota, and Salah.
Yeah, agreed.
Wow, mate. Firmino.
I'd almost play, or I'd play
Firmino in the 10.
Firmino in the 10. We did that earlier on in the season. We played Mane.
You did it against Man City, didn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we started all 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, we stuck Firmino at the 10 and we stuck Salah at the 9. I think played Mane on.
I just don't think Firmino's playmaking hasn't been good enough either recently. I don't think he should be starting right now.
Yeah.
And I don't trust a midfield 2 of Wijnaldum and Thiago.
No.
I would rather
tallest midfield in the Prem.
No, they're a good player. They just don't. They wouldn't fit very well together.
Yeah.
They're too similar in their stats.
I think you're right though. I feel like as much as Van Dijk and Gomez have been huge, Henderson and Fabinho not being in midfield has also been so big.
We could have Henderson and Fabinho in midfield as a 2. Perfect.
I think that was why it was so short-sighted to think of Fabinho to play as the 4th centre back, because he's done fine on his own, but it disrupts the midfield, and we saw that last season with Fernandinho. He did fine at centre back, but it disrupted Man City, and we should have seen that. We should have bought a 4th centre back, and I think that was the biggest mistake of the transfer window for us.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So that wraps up the Premier League chat. We'll jump into part 2 now.
Jafar, we gave you a set of questions that we do with everyone every week.
Yeah.
So, first question: what is your first memory of football as a Liverpool
fan? This is a weird one. Liverpool. It was Liverpool against Besiktas in 2007, and it was Ryan Babel scoring off his back. I don't know why I remember that as my first thing. I don't know why I remember that. But that's all I remember from the game, even though it was 8-0. And yeah, that was the first one.
Was that the biggest?
I wasn't sure if it was that. I think it was. At least it was for us. I couldn't remember if it was that or the Champions League final. So I watched the highlights last night, and it was before the Champions League final. So that is the first one.
It was a good first memory. It's good. I can't remember that. I only remember crying after losing the final that year.
Yeah, that was the only time I did after a football match.
Yeah. So moving on, what's your favourite memory as a Liverpool fan?
Here we go.
I think at the time it was Coutinho's goal against Man City in the 3-2 in 2013-14. Obviously now it's not good, but at the time, it was the best one.
What happened after that?
Arsenal just.
I don't know. I think they cancelled the season. I think it was Corona.
But it was null and void, wasn't it? I think.
Yeah, null and void.
Yeah, Gerrard retired unexpectedly midway through the season. Yeah.
No, that game was crazy. I remember watching it, being annoyed because I thought I thought it was over. I thought you had gone all the way.
I went mental.
Yeah, I know. I was running around the living room.
Yeah, I was in
I
the
think that's it's quite interesting with this question. A lot of people aren't picking like you winning the league or you winning the Champions League. There was another Liverpool fan. For a minute I thought you were going to say the same thing. Who said at the time this one win just felt amazing, and it was the Europa League against Dortmund.
Oh, I didn't get to watch that game, so that's why I think.
I didn't get to watch it either.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just interesting how people pick like moments as
Thing
opposed
is,
to necessarily winning the thing.
It was probably my favorite moment, but I've never watched it back because I don't want to.
Have you seen it?
No, I don't want to watch it back again. It's
Why?
just because the season didn't end well. I don't want to watch.
Oh, I
that.
thought you meant the Dortmund game. Yeah. Okay.
Oh no, the Dortmund one, fine.
Yeah.
I don't think I've watched like any Suarez highlights very often.
To be fair, I feel like
I don't watch
I had,
anything from 2013-14.
Yeah, if I had like been present in my mind when Arsenal got the Champions League final, because that was my first memory. But if I had been like properly into football and knew what was going on, I don't think I'd be able to rewatch Henry's semi-final goal against Real Madrid, because that I imagine if I was old enough, that would have been my favorite memory, because that goal, even when I watch it now, is just insane. It's literally in goal too. They use it in goal too. Like that is the definition of this is the greatest goal I've ever scored. And if I'd watched that live,
One more one that isn't. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say if I'd watched that live and then we lost the final, especially the way we did, nah, I couldn't deal with that.
Yeah, one more thing that I was going to say that's not like an obvious one, like the Barcelona one, was the 4-1 at Old Trafford.
Oh yeah.
When Dosena scored, that was really good as well. Yeah. Just because I don't think we'd won at Old Trafford. Maybe not for a while, but it's just you don't win there all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
we could have won the title that year. That probably would have been a bigger memory because we were in the title race that year up until the last couple games.
Yeah.
I feel like we won the title year.
But I don't think like I was not that I wasn't as into football, but I don't remember this season as much in general.
I just remember us.
So it's like it's easier to remember that moment than the whole season, like 2013-14.
Yeah. Mate, what a year 2013-14 was. Crazy. If we move on then, I like this question. I think that, like I said, you can kind of roughly think, okay, I think he's going to say this for their own club. So this one's a really interesting one, I think. What's your favourite footballer memory that doesn't include Liverpool?
I think Aguero against QPR.
Wow, I'm surprised
because
someone said that, haven't they? So far?
It stopped Man U. It stopped Man U winning the league. It wasn't because it was a great moment. It was just because of that.
That's another trend. We've had so many people like something because it stopped someone else being happy. So you can see how fickle football fans are. They don't even care
because
about themselves.
my brother is a Man U fan, so that made it even better.
Mate, yeah, that's a great moment for sure.
I second that opinion massively. I do at the time. Like, I didn't really see. I wasn't really concentrating on that day of football, but
yeah,
the fact that United didn't win the league was just perfect. It's fine as long as
also,
I'm good.
I think the 7-1 Brazil against Germany. I wanted Brazil to win it, but I think if Brazil lost narrowly, it would have been annoying. But I think because it was so big, it was like I didn't care who won.
Yeah,
it was just it was insane.
Was unreal. That game, like, it genuinely felt like you were watching like a moment of history. You were just like, what is happening? And like, it was just the fact that like Germany just didn't care. Like, literally, Khedira was just playing like a centre forward. It was just like, what is happening?
It went from like 1-0 to 4-0 in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, mate.
Hey, what was another great game that I think gets overlooked because of that one? That was in the same tournament. Was when Holland beat Spain 5-1?
Yeah.
No one talk. I feel like people don't talk about that game much.
That was the Robben and Ramos.
Yeah.
That World Cup was, mate. We talk about World Cup so much on this. That all of them. There's just so many good games. It's like it just is the pinnacle of entertaining football.
The World Cup is the pinnacle of sport, and no one can tell me otherwise. No one.
It's the most fun to watch.
Oh, easily.
Oh, 100%. It's so good. I love it. I can't wait for it. I mean, the Euros are going to be interesting this year.
World Cup's next year. How has that happened?
Yeah, I know.
How has that
When's the
happened?
World... Oh, it's Qatar. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's going to be in the winter, isn't it?
It's gonna be awful. Like it's not.
It's
Gonna
It's
be,
not in the
so
summer though,
weird.
so we got to wait.
I'm so
Got to
disappointed.
wait an extra 6 months.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's going to be a weird one. The final is like right next to my birthday, which is just going to be weird. And like, what is even going to happen with the Prem? Is it just getting like cut in half?
I don't know what they're gonna do with domestically.
Mate, surely they should just play it.
I think it's just
Keep
going to be a
playing
winter
it.
break.
Surely you just keep playing it and just let all the good players go. Just have like all the academies playing the Prem games. That'd be sick.
Burnley win the league.
Yeah. Wait, what happened? What happened in the middle of 2022 season when Burnley won 10 games straight? What was that about?
Burnley went invincible.
Yeah. If we move on to the fourth question, this is the one a lot of people struggle with. What is the one player you wish Liverpool would have signed?
Sanchez. I know someone said it, but when we sold Suarez, instead of having a front three of Balotelli, Barini, and Lambert, we could have had Sanchez, and we ended up with those three not scoring.
Mate, Sanchez on his own is literally beats them easily. So
It didn't help that Sturridge was injured for like the whole season.
Yeah,
But yeah, that wasn't fun. I think Sterling was our highest goal scorer when he wasn't even good at scoring.
yeah.
And Coutinho was like second highest. It was not a good season.
Oh, Sanchez was so good. Like I feel like I talk about him all the time, but literally, that's probably the only reason I'm okay with not getting Suarez now is the fact we got that over you the year after. And I remember he had a really good World Cup for Chile, and I was just like, please, like I felt like we signed so many people that have let me down and not been it. But he was just so good. Like he was on it. It felt like he was the first player I'd watched, and I know Ozil was great, but in terms of effectiveness and just pure output, I was like, I feel like this is the level of an Invincibles player. This is the level of like Pires Henry, whoever you want to say. Like he's just so good, and I would have hated if you had got him.
And
Very
I
close.
think one more that we were always rumored with, but like we never actually got close, was Marco Royce. I feel like we were always rumored with him,
Yeah.
and he was always really good. I know he's had like injuries, so maybe it
Yeah.
wouldn't have been that good anyway. But at the time, he was so much better than anything we had
Yeah,
that
he's
getting
a top
him would
player.
have been so nice.
Yeah.
Where do you guys sit on Werner? Like obviously he's gone to Chelsea now, and there was a lot made of that. And I think it was it mainly like the sort of finances involved. They were just like it's not
Liverpool
worth
couldn't
it.
It was the
50
money.
mil up front. Because the other
Yeah.
two signings we made in the summer were. I mean, Thiago's deal split up into 4 years, 5 million each year. So that's only 5 million in the first year.
Yeah,
We're only paying 10% in the first year, so that's 4.1. So we're
that's
paying 9 mil for
insane.
the first year. So that's why we couldn't, because we had to pay 50 mil for them in up front basically.
Yeah,
And there's no way. I mean, we weren't going to get for that, to be honest.
But yeah, I did want Werner, but Jota's just turned out better anyway. So it's ended up well.
Jota's such a good buy.
And
I think
he's
Werner would have done very, very well at Liverpool. Like, I think under Klopp he would have been fantastic. But I mean, on fire, like, look, it's worked out fine. I mean,
Yeah.
we got for less money.
Do you think he would have displaced Firmino if he had been at the level he kind of showed at Leipzig?
I think he would have.
Agree.
Yeah, no, mate. What could have been? What could have been? Well, I guess we could wrap up there then. It's a great football chat at the start, and then yet another footballing story. We are going to hopefully start getting some people within the game coming on. There's no guarantees, obviously, but like we always say, please contact us if you want to come on. We want to hear everyone's football stories. We want to hear stories from different countries, different leagues, everything. We just want to find out how people feel about the beautiful game. And yeah, hopefully we're going to be getting some people within the game to get some maybe arguably kind of different stories beyond just fan stories. But we'll see how that all goes. We hope everyone's doing well during this difficult time, obviously. And yeah, we'll be back next Tuesday with the next episode. Thanks for listening.